What's going on, everybody? This is Tempest Wang. And right here we got episode 7 of the Rift Herald, which, if you don't know already, is the premier NALCS podcast hosted by Tempest Wang, which is me. And trying to think if there's anything I need to bring up before we swan dive into these games here. I thought this was maybe the best week of games that we've seen, all split, definitely in a while. Last week had me scratching my head. Good teams were losing to bad teams were losing to worse teams. Games lasted way too long. This week was pretty good. It's pretty good. Last week I talked a lot about Skarner. I'm not going to talk that much about Skarner because he was banned 8 out of the 10 games, and he was picked in the other 2. So Skarner, a huge priority. But the whole Predator Skarner novelty is worn off on me. And I think so that was week 6. Moving into week 7 next week, I think we're sort of starting to see a rough dichotomy between the top 6 teams and the bottom 4. The top 6 being Echo Fox, Cloud9, TSM, Clutch, TL, and 100 Thieves. And I gotta say, first off, there's 2 games in between those and the bottom 4. Optic, FlyQuest, Golden Guardian, CLG. And I think that out of the top 6 teams, I think all of them, except Clutch, are like pretty, I'd say, based on their form this week, and sort of some things I've seen in the past, I'd say all of them except for Clutch, I'm like pretty confident will be playoff teams this far into the season. Not too much of a real, far-fetched conclusion. Clutch, they definitely have some issues because I feel like the way they play is they play a lot of scaling comps, and they need to sort of get to that. I mean, they can win early, but they sort of need to get to that 40, 50-minute team fight to secure a win. They got a bunch of wins in a row, which has still them sitting at 3rd place, but they're looking a little iffy to me, but we'll get into them more later. And then as far as roster upheaval goes, Optic, I believe, had the only substitutions this week. They used... let me make sure I get his name correctly. Dokla, I believe is how you say it. They used Dokla instead of Zig. And I didn't see anything too great out of this guy. I mean, he played Camille 2 games, so I'm thinking the rationale behind using this dude is that they maybe want to use him in more of a carry-style meta. I mean, Zig did play Camille before, at least once. I remember one game in particular where we didn't do very much on it, so maybe they're like, all right, we'll use Zig for like the hefty tank players, or tank champions, and we'll use Dokla, however the fuck you say that, for the like carries like Camille. But apparently Dokla is like statistically the best top laner in the Academy League. He's the Academy top laner for Optic, which, I mean, that doesn't mean shit, but it's sort of like a FlyQuest situation where they started subbing in JJ instead of Stunt, which they actually didn't do this week. They used Stunt in both games. So yeah, now Optic is kind of dabbling in their Academy pool, which is cool, I guess, whatever, but just something to look out for. But yeah, let's get into the games here. 100 Thieves versus Cloud9, a bit of an upset because 100 Thieves takes this victory. They definitely looked iffy in weeks leading up to this match, so I incorrectly predicted C9 to win. This week, again, I was at a 60% correct prediction rate, which I'll take it. There are a few upsets that I didn't get. There might have been a few upsets actually that I did get. Now that I think about it, but yeah. Basically, Cloud for me. Here's the thing with 100 Thieves and me. I feel like either Cody Sun gets a million kills or they lose the game. And when I say Cody Sun gets a million kills, I don't mean that Cody Sun is, a god in human form and it's just out there killing. I mean like his team sets him up to get fed to win the game. And then that's pretty much exactly what happened this game. Aphromoo on the Thresh, Meteos on the Skarner. He's doing Predator Skarner. I'm still talking about it. But basically, the crazy thing, and this is why I personally think Skarner is busted, is I touched on this last week, but just to reiterate, he takes almost no damage and uses almost no mana in the early clears if you set up the spires correctly. So he sort of has the advantage on Svensgaren because he ganks bot before Sven can really do anything, and they get first blood. But actually, they don't get first blood. C9 get first blood. My apologies. I'm thinking of a different game. But Meteos is in the bot lane. He gets pressure. He kills Steaky. And basically, it's another thing, too, where they can get all the neutral objectives as well. And Aphromoo, if you watch the fucking team fights, he's pretty much making every hook count. And it's basically these team fights where C9 get picked apart. That you can see the over-aggression from Svensgaren. You can see the over-aggression from Licorice in some of these fights. There's an interesting interaction where the Skarner is ulting someone, and he actually takes the Thresh Lantern, pulling them even further back. But that's apparently not supposed to happen. So I'm not sure how that interaction works, but I thought that was interesting because I've literally never seen that in my entire life. And I've played probably at least one game with Skarner and a Thresh. But basically, 100 Thieves have a very tanky front line as well. They've got the Galio, I said Meteos. The Galio, the Skarner, the Thresh. And it's like hard. I mean, there's definitely instances to sort of pick up, nitpick. There are instances where Sven tries to initiate, uses the Sejuani all on the tank, on the Skarner, and it's just too hard to get to Cody Sun in the back line. So he's able to get a lot of damage off in these team fights and win the game. So 100 Thieves, they definitely they camped bot, they camped mid, and they definitely sort of played around their win conditions. And I'd say Aphromoo and Meteos did a good job of making sure that they got the picks that they needed in the team fights to basically win. Because Cloud9 looked pretty discombobulated in this game. Smoothie on his normally really good Taric, I didn't see too much from him, unfortunately. So, yeah, that was that game. All right. Moving on. Got to get my tabs going here. The next matchup was CLG versus Clutch. I correctly predicted that Clutch would win because CLG, oh my god, what is going on with this team? I'll tell you what's going on with this team is that from what I saw this week, we saw 2 games of Stixxay on Callista, and both games went a little something like this. He had all the kills on the team. Everyone else had basically 0 kills. Actually, in this game, yeah, he literally had all the kills. And you see Rainover playing well around him in the bot lane. You see Bio actually making some pretty decent plays, and Stixxay doing his damnedest to pick up kills. But it's just like the mid and top lane crumble. And I mean, it's like Darshan thinks that he's playing. It's like he thinks he's playing 1v1 in the top lane. He thinks he's on Howling Abyss 1v1, deathmatch. And he's just doing all this aggressive shit. And I think it was worse in the other game that they played. But he's either extended too far or he's going for the risky trades. And Lyra's always right around the corner. And he's going to get him. and he dies for first blood. And I'm starting to realize that, yeah, at this point it's a given. Like Darshan, he's gonna die for first blood. Like what is he doing? And weirdly enough, in both of these matches, I mean, they played Golden Guardians. I mean, CLG lost to fucking Golden Guardians, who I used to think was the worst team in the league. I think it might actually be CLG now. But for whatever fucking reason, CLG's bot lane has been going ham of late, and their mid and their top are getting caved in. And I will admit that was getting ganked a lot, and he was sort of, a lot of it, some of it was out of his control, because, I mean, if Darshan's dying and they're getting kills and then they're going mid, snowballing the lead, then he's kind of fucked. But the weird thing about this game, well, actually, to close up on the Huhi thing, Huhi this week played Vel'Koz and Twisted Fate, and I'm pretty sure those are not fabulous picks right now. I mean, if you look at the bans, I mean, you could have played Rise. You could have played Corki was up, yes. Basically, they banned Zoe. CLG banned Galio, Clutch banned Zoe, and then Febiven played Azir. And I'm not sure. I would have to look back at the order of the draft if he could have picked Azir before Febiven, but I feel like there's a couple half-decent options. He doesn't need to be playing Vel'Koz in this situation. And Vel'Koz is a signature Huhi pick, but I don't know. I mean, it works. I feel like when Huhi can bust out the sort of wild card picks, I feel like it works when CLG is doing well. But when CLG is not doing well, it looks like he's an idiot. Like there obviously I'm sure he has some logic behind the picks. I'm sure he's not just clicking on the question, pulling champions out of a hat, which is what it seems like. Because overall, this split, Huhi has played a lot of different champions, and a lot of them only once. So, not sure if that's the best thing that CLG. That CLG needs a little more stability at this point, because, I mean, weirdly enough, they were able to play around the map, and they basically played almost exclusively around this bot lane. Throwing the bot lane. I mean, bot lane gets first brick, then they throw the bot lane top. They get first or another tower. And at 14 minutes of the game, CLG actually have 3 towers and Clutch don't have any. So it takes a little while and this was a very back and forth game too. This is not by any means a clean game, because CLG actually get almost all the way into the base, but basically it eventually, and they keep picking Febiven too. There were like a couple of fights where it looked like it was going to go good, and then the Zac just kind of flies in, and they got a couple good picks, and they'd only kill Febiven, which is like, that's their main damage dealer, so that's great. But it's like they'd kill Febiven, and then it would be like, all right, we'll try to fucking reset the map and get another pick, and then it was never enough, and eventually Clutch was able to win off of a team fight, but because they tried a Baron, right? Oh, no, it's Elder Drake. Yeah, they lose the game at Elder Drake. But basically, I mean, the game goes... This is easily the longest game of the week, 47 minutes, or basically 48 minutes. And it's like, yeah, this Azir, by the end of the game, has 6 items, and he's just going to fucking murder everybody. He's going to fucking murder the Baron. He's going to murder the Elder Drake, whatever. Yeah, I mean, that last team fight basically came down to... There were a few good engages with the Scion pick on solo. I mean, that champion just has so much CC. If you can run down the right target, get a free kill, you kind of can bust open the game that way. So a little sloppy from Clutch. Well, I mean, I'd say sloppy from both teams, honestly, because CLG. Let's see. Yeah, CLG. I mean, I guess they had a marginal gold lead once they got those towers, but you'd like to see them, if they have, the fed-ass Callista, you'd like to see them be able to do something with it, but it's like, yeah, I don't really know. And I think playing around their bot lane is the move, as long as you can get Darshan to chill the fuck out, and you can get Huhi to maybe... I mean, like if he was playing Rise this game, he could have been, they could have been 4-manning bot, he could have been going top. I don't know. All right, we'll move on. The next game was TSM Echo Fox, another upset of the week. I gotta say, TSM impressed me this game, but Phoenix also picked mid lane Fiora, which I'm like, all right. Yeah, I just don't know about that pick right now. Into Galio, that seems terrible. Although he did all right in lane, and honestly, it almost wasn't like the pick at certain times. I mean, there's certain instances where I feel like Phoenix just played some situations weird where he'd try to like. They killed him. They killed him in a gank, which is like fair play. TSM had Kha'Zix Galio. That's a good amount of CC and damage, but there's definitely one instance where they had like just lost a fight, and then Phoenix is like going back in fighting against two people, and they just kill him, and it's just like, dude, what the fuck? You like chill out a bit. But I mean, yeah, he got through the lane. He had Biscuit Delivery, Klepto, Relic Shield, so he's he's got some sustain there. And this game starts off like any game. Echo Fox are up almost 1k gold at around 6 minutes just off of farm, which I think that's kind of their style. They hustle these lanes, and they play aggressive, like Altex on Callista and Phoenix is on Fiora and Huni's on Vladimir. Another questionable pick is this Zillion. Again, haven't seen too much Zillion, and Adrian did fuck all in this game, so maybe we just need to see other people try to play Zillion, but that was just another interesting, I guess, slightly fringe, not off meta, but fringe meta pick. But this game starts off like any other Echo Fox game. As I was saying, they're ahead in gold. Dardoch ganks top for Huni, gets first blood. And the Kha'Zix are kind of dormant early game. But eventually, what TSM does a good job of is doing sort of the Thunderdome fights. They definitely start going for good team fights where they can engage. They can look to engage with the Galio and then the Camille all on top of each other. Mithy played a pretty solid Braum. There's definitely a fight in there where he sort of muscles his way in and gets a good Braum ult that allow TSM to catch some people out. But yeah, it's basically, I mean, I feel like Echo Fox almost just like didn't know what to do once TSM started grouping. And Huni definitely bodied people on Vladimir, and I've seen Vladimir do some stupid ass shit, but Huni did play some of the engages and some of almost like the flanks where like the team fight was going on in the background, and Huni would just roll in and kill two people, sort of on the outskirts of the fight. So he definitely played pretty out of his mind. But these fights, even despite that, these fights were just going in the way of TSM basically. And the Drake RNGs was definitely in their favor because they had two Mountain Drakes at a certain point, and they have Ezreal, Camille, Kha'Zix. They have a high, pretty heavy AD comp. So when they win these fights, they're able to kill these fucking towers. And yeah, I mean it was overall a pretty well fought game by TSM. I mean, you kind of see that's kind of how you have to neutralize the Echo Fox team. And TL wasn't able to do it, but they tried to pick a similar comp. So it's kind of like you have to have the comp and you have to have the execution because you need to synergize the Galio and the Camille. You need to have the Braum coming, and then Kha'Zix is kind of tricky too because with a lot of these tanks you could just fly in and kill yourself. So they definitely executed it well, and it seemed like TSM also was like in Echo Fox jungle a lot of the times, like looking for picks, which I thought was good because at the start of the season TSM was just like the opposite of proactive, like they weren't doing jack shit. So I liked TSM in this game. I like their comp. So hopefully this exposes some of the weaknesses of Echo Fox, because I still think that although they're maybe the best team in LCS, although I'd still give it to maybe Cloud9. Honestly, Cloud9, TSM, and Echo Fox to me look like the best 3 teams despite their records, because Echo Fox I think still has some serious weaknesses where I don't know. I see, other than like, it's like, I guess it's mainly Phoenix and Adrian where I just like see them. Sometimes I just see them do shit and I'm just like, what the fuck are you doing? But anyways, I'll move on to the next game. Golden Guardians versus Optic. I correctly predicted Optic would win. Again, they're using Dokla top instead of Zig. And Contracts is on the Skarner. So yet again, this is the second of 2 Skarner games this week, and he's also playing against the Sedge. So he gets a lot. He's able to invade early and get some of Acadian's camps actually, because he can basically sustain so well and get the spires and whatnot. High is on the rise. He tries to get a roam top, but PoE follows him, lands a pretty good shockwave, and Acadian kind of does a good job of hovering around as well, because it looks like Dokla is going to go down in a 2v1 situation, or 3v1 maybe. But Acadian kind of hangs back, and they get a good roam with PoE following high, and kind of get the ball rolling there, and sort of the I guess the synergizing on Optic that I like from this game is they did a lot with sort of the Ori or the Tom Kench. The Tom Kench on elimination was a good pick, because they can sort of get the flanks, they can get the Ori in, or get the Sejuani in the right position, where they can put the ball. I mean, Orianna and Sejuani I think is good, because you pretty much want Sejuani in the middle of the fucking fight, and then you just put the ball on her, shield her, ult, whatever. But by the end of the game, Optic had 4 QSSs for this fucking Skarner, Contracts on Skarner. The only person that didn't have one was Dokla in the top lane, but everyone else, even Lemon support, everyone else had a QSS. So he was kind of just running out of targets to pull, and that is yeah, it sucks to have to build QSS and spend money on that instead of an actual item you want, but it's like, this Skarner is like kind of fucking useless if everyone's just fucking QSSing him. And you do see some interesting, I guess, like this game didn't go on for too long, but you did see some interesting, almost like faltering from Optic, which, I mean, they did a pretty decent job of closing this game out. So I won't nitpick it too much, but they definitely kept trying to like run down the Baron and kill it, but then they'd peel off and stop, and then they started again. And I think a better team, I would hope, could maybe have countered that by either trying to kill them in the pit or pressure elsewhere on the map and get a split push going, but it honestly didn't matter in the end. I mean, Golden Guardian's still a fairly weak team, as is Optic, but Optic did have sort of the better, I guess, team play in this game around the Orianna, the Tom Kench. So good game to Optic. All right, next up we have Team Liquid versus FlyQuest. As I mentioned before, this was a victory to TL. And as I mentioned before, FlyQuest are using Stunt, not JJ. And Stunt is actually on the TK as well, or Tom Kench, for those of you not down with the slang. But that's like the ultimate pick if you're laning with Wild Turtle, because if Wild Turtle just does something fucking stupid, you just eat him, and you're just like, nope, you're coming with me, buddy. And this is a game where it was an interesting jungle game, because they get impact really low, and Xmithy kind of bails them out, and then it looked almost like a really smart read from Xmithy, where he realized that he could still 2v1 or 1v2 Onda and Flame, but it was High and Flame, I believe, but High has the or not High, sorry, Fly and Flame. Wow, last game was High, now it's Fly. Fly and Flame, but Fly has the stopwatch, and it's sort of Xbithi. I mean, this is also really nitpicky, but it's like he basically had a split-second decision where he's like, "Ah, shit, he stopwatched. I should just bail," or like, "No, I can kill him," and then he kept going, and that killed himself, which is whatever. But it almost looked like a really smart read from Xbithi, where he sort of realized the strength of his champion, that he could actually do enough damage and get him. Because that stun on Sejuani does a lot of damage. But and then there's also the contest over the Rift Herald Eye, where it was just kind of sitting there for a while, and they were doing this weird dance. But then Anda failed his fucking jump over the pit and went down. So that was pretty what the fuck. So I'd say Xbithi, the better jungler. In this game, he definitely gets good. TL basically camp mid for Pobelter, which is what you want to fucking do. Get this Azir going. Impact walks down at a certain point. Xbithi ganks several times. They get some kills off on Fly. And the good thing here, and I say good because I like to see, competitive games. FlyQuest don't just roll over and die here. They do the classic 4-man bot where Fly has the Rise ult and Anda can leap in, and they get some kills. They've got the when they have the they basically have the Camille ult where he can just run in, and it's not quite as good as with the Galio, which Galio was banned, so fair enough, but still a solid grouping team. If you're a solid dive comp, basically, if you have the Camille ult to just kind of slide in on the hook shot and get in there. So FlyQuest definitely, they go down swinging at a certain point, but basically boils down to sort of better play from TL. I'm trying to see what if I had anything else. Also, just Wild Turtle definitely was gifted more kills than Doublelift. Doublelift kind of had a hard time this game, but sort of the late game, I guess not even really late game, more like mid game Ezreal. There was a point in the game where Doublelift was able to 1v1 Turtle, which I think yeah, with the Kalista you sort of almost want to have your team around you more than the Ezreal just sniping and poking you down. But oh yeah, and that was the thing too. Even after some of these plays that FlyQuest made, they were still behind in gold, and they basically kind of let TL get Baron, so that steamrolled the game as well. All right, that's all I want to say about that one. Let's move on to Optic versus TSM. I should have gone with my gut on this one because I had written down that TSM was going to win, and then I was like, a spur of the moment during the last episode of the Rift Herald, I was like, you know what? I have faith in Optic. They're going to pull something out. And then after I saw the TSM Echo Fox game, I was like, damn it, TSM's going to beat Optic. And yeah, it wasn't even fucking close. I mean, this was pretty much a stomp. You see, this was one of the few games where it was sort of to his disadvantage, but I was like, damn, Bjergsen is actually being a fucking man this game on the Rise. Rise does a lot of damage. What can I say? But early game, PoE definitely puts him in his fucking place on this Victor. There's definitely some close calls with the sort of 2v2 in the mid lane, but it seems like very early on you definitely see Power of Evil playing the matchup correctly, I guess, or well. He's got the fleet footwork going, so he's playing the auto attack build that Power of Evil is known for. But what happens in this game? Oh yeah, TSM 5-man bot. That's like their new thing. They just send everybody fucking bot. And when they did this against C9, it worked, but C9 was able to get pressure mid and top. But this time, Optic didn't really have a response to it. They have double TP. and Rizalt as well. So, and then let's see. Yeah, I mean it's just another game where TSM. I mean they have a kind of similar comp. Actually, no, they don't. But the only same champion they have is Kha'Zix. But they sort of execute it similarly, where they are catching people out. They're catching Optic out in Optic's jungle. They're proactively looking for picks with the Kha'Zix. At a certain point in the game, Bjergsen and Hanser, it looks like they get caught out, but they legitimately win a 2v4. It's ridiculous. Like they basically just outplay Optics so fucking hard, and that eventually leads them to win the game. But Miffy definitely flexing on this Braum. I saw some actually good flanks from Haunters on the TP, which is something that I haven't noticed too much from him in the past. So glad to see that he was actually sort of using the Gnar as a split pusher and not just A-ramming in the middle of everyone else. So yeah, I mean TSM kind of did the same thing that they did against Echo Fox, and Optic just really didn't do much to try to come back. So yeah, I think TSM looking pretty fucking good this week. Let's go on to FlyQuest versus 100 Thieves. Another victory for 100 Thieves. Oh, yeah, this was Aphromoo on the Blitzcrank. And if you're going to play Blitzcrank against any player in the LCS, it's going to be Wild Turtle. And it was hilarious because not once, but at least twice that I saw, there was the same scenario that happened where, I mean, to his credit, like, he's going to die too, but, like, Aphromu's trying to pull someone, and it looks like he's going to pull Onda, and then Onda on Nidalee leaps out of the way at the last second, and Turtle gets pulled. And that happened twice, and it's like, yeah, if he pulls the Nidalee, that Nidalee's probably going to die too, but it's just like, the AD carry getting picked off by Blitzcrank never feels good, in my opinion, because that's going to be your solid, I mean, he's playing Caitlyn, that's going to be your solid DPS in these team fights. So I'd rather lose the Nidalee than the Caitlyn. But Aphromoo made this Blitzcrank fucking work because he got a few picks early, and if you don't get picks with this Blitzcrank, it's basically useless in my opinion. And they definitely had the level 1 too, where they tried to get it mid. So they had a fucking game plan, which I like to see, because they definitely they're not just picking Blitzcrank willy nilly. And obviously Aphromoo is a seasoned Blitzcrank aficionado. So when I saw this pick, I was like, all right, this makes sense. They'll probably do some shit. But luckily FlyQuest again doesn't roll over. They 5-man bot, which is their FlyQuest is like TSM. That's like their signature thing. They'll just all go to the fucking bot lane, kill everyone. But there's a scenario where both top laners are in opposite lanes and are both getting chased down, and Flame dies, but someday gets away by like the skin of his teeth, which I thought was pretty notable. So kind of lost the tempo there, or not the tempo, but sort of lost some pressure there because killing Flame allowed 100 Thieves to keep pressing on towards that Nexus. But an interesting thing is that at around 15 minutes, Fly was actually up in gold. Camille, the top lane did not reflect that. The thing that concerned me, I was like, all right, FlyQuest is, they had the bot lane play, they got back, but I was like, Camille is not, winning against this Gnar right now, so that's not going to be good later on. Like, after laning phase, hopefully the Camille can split push and catch up, but I saw that earlier, and I was like, that's not going to be good. And then Flames getting run down. Another thing I saw was Fly on the Zoe. It's like, I felt like I was watching, like, 8.4 Zoe, but it was still, the patch was still on 8.3, because this Zoe wasn't fucking doing anything. In laning phase, yeah, after laning phase, I didn't see Zoe get any real picks, and in laning phase was just like chunk down Ryu, and then Ryu would just come back in full health. So um, this is another, and then the Nidalee pick from Onda that I didn't really see, because like you'd think like, okay, with Zoe and Nidalee you basically have two Zoes where you make someone go to sleep and then you both just line up the skill shots for free. But that I wasn't seeing too much of that, and so I feel like Onda didn't really make. Onda looked pretty suspect in general this week, but he definitely didn't really rock the Nidalee pick. But yeah, it's just like this Blitzcrank is the bane of Wild Turtle's fucking existence this game. Like he's getting pulled, Fly's getting pulled. It's just like they're definitely making it work. And there's a scenario in the top lane where Afro does go too fucking ham and kind of zooms in for the pull, misses, and then dives tower and dies. So I mean, you see sort of the limits of what can be done with this champion, but overall he plays it pretty well and kind of ties the comp together. So good victory to 100 Thieves in this one. Okay, what do we got next? Echo Fox TL. This was the fucking quickest game I've ever seen in my entire life. It was over before. It was over in like 2 fights, I'm pretty sure. All right, what the hell happened this game? This is another one where, yeah, actually, Xmithy, an interesting note, Xmithy made it top. So Xmithy's on the Kha'Zix, Darduck's on the classic Sejuani. Xmithy actually makes it top before Darduck does. So he allows, he gets the first blood on to impact on Huni's Yasuo. And holy shit, I feel like every time, and I guess this is only the second time, but I feel like it's like, yeah, it's Huni's Yasuo, but I feel like instead, it's not like they're winning because of the Yasuo, it's like they're winning despite the Yasuo. Like, the Yasuo pick is doing everything in its power to just eat the fucking game. I don't understand it when I see this pick. It's not like the Lucian pick where he actually made it work. The Yasuo pick has me scratching my head because they just get. I mean, and I guess you can blame the sort of jungle route as well, but they basically they realize, all right, we can shut the Yasuo down early, and he's not going to be able to do anything. But despite this, TL is still, all their lanes are losing in CS, which is something. I mean, this is what I pointed out in the Echo Fox game versus TSM. Is Echo Fox just picked these lanes, Callista, Ryze. I guess not Ryze to a degree, but he's against Galio, so like that's a pretty whatever matchup. But so I guess to Huni's credit, he does get although he goes down early, he does sort of come back and farm. But there's just, I don't know. Basically, the way that I felt like Ole sort of mispositioned, it was like, so this is what I was saying earlier. TL ran like a similar team comp to TSM with the Camille. Let's see what they had. Camille, they had Galio, they had Kha'Zix. But, I mean, it's basically the Camille and the fucking Galio with the Thunderdome comp, right? And it seemed like they just didn't execute it as well. The Galio ults were not on point, and the engages were kind of sloppy. Yeah, I thought Pobelter played a little sloppy. I thought Ole played a little sloppy. And basically, TL just won a couple key fights and just fucking steamrolled the game. I thought Adrian did a pretty good job on the Tom Kench, getting the flanks that they needed to win. So, yeah, quick segment, quick game. But, yeah, Echo Fox kind of just didn't really give TL a fucking chance that game. Next up is CLG versus Golden Guardians. And this was another head-scratcher for the old Darshan. And then, oh yeah, he was on TF and got shit on early game because the Ryze does 1,000,000 fucking damage and has CC. And what the hell does Twisted Fuck have? Not a lot. You see some 2v2s from the mid jungle early, but nothing really goes on. But Um, oh yeah, Darshan's playing Fiora. Fuck, I forgot about this. Yeah, Darshan's playing Fiora, and it's just like, all right, we get it, dude. Like, you're a fucking man. You're gonna try to kill this Ornn who is basically a brick in the top lane, but it's like, hey, their jungler does a lot of damage, and he's gonna come in and kill your ass. So, yeah. If this was a perfect world and top lane was truly a 1v1, yeah, Darshan would probably be winning this matchup. But, oy. Um, but yeah, I mean, Golden Guardians dive mid, get a couple kills, and then Darshan immediately starts running into their jungle, either to ward or to chase them down, and then they just turn around and kill them. So it's like Darshan, what the hell are you doing? And it just feels like another game where Darshan and Huhi are pretty useless, and it's like, yeah, Stixay and Bio are actually like doing a decent job of I mean I guess what you could say is like I feel like CLG are like a scrappy team, and the fact that they don't like they'll let you like you can beat them, but like they're not going down without a fight, and it seems like Stixay is just getting all the kills because he's the only one who can actually do any fucking damage in these team fights. Because it's like, yeah, I mean, you can get some picks with the Twisted Fate yellow card, and it's like, yeah, the 0-4 Fiora will fucking run in. But and then I didn't see any good and Huhi got shut down. Like they sent people mid to sort of neutralize this, which was a good strategy. But I didn't see him get any good roams early game with his ult, and I think by the time he was sort of joining team fights, ulting in, and it was sort of too late at that point. But the crazy thing is, Golden Guardians goes for Baron, they get Baron, and then they all die except for, I think it was Lorlo. And Stixay gets a quadra kill in the Baron pit, and then Golden Guardians just like come back up, and they just group with Lorlo, who still is the only person that has the Baron, and then they just push into the base, and then then CLG tries to get the Baron, and then Matt on Tom Kench fucking steals it, and then Golden Guardians just kill them and then end the game. It's just like, what just happened? It's like both teams are just throwing away their fucking Barons. Oh, man. I don't even know. I mean, this is just proof that it's like, yeah, Golden Guardians is still a pretty bad team, but I guess they're not as bad as CLG now. I guess CLG is now the worst team in LCS. That's the world we live in, I'm afraid. All right. That was that game. And last but certainly not least, C9 versus Clutch, another real quickie-dicky. And this was definitely a concerning game for Clutch. And I just watched this one, so I should do this. But I felt like basically every this was actually stupid how fed Licorice got on the fucking Kled in the top lane. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely some cheeky interactions with the remount that allows Licorice to kind of escape by the skin of his teeth, but he definitely is a beneficiary of an early gank from Sven. He's able to kill Lyra and Solo, and he pretty much just steamrolls the top lane from there. Solo's useless at this point. But I thought that pretty much all of the individual members of Clutch were just outclassed by the individual members of C9. Like, Jensen definitely played ballsy and like got cut out a couple times for it, but he was like almost like 1v2ing Lyra and Febiven in the mid lane at a certain point, and he's poking Febiven out. Jensen's just a monster on Talia. I've seen it enough where I'm just like, yeah, this guy's actually really fucking good at this champion. And then Sven definitely got to the top lane before Lyra could, got Licorice going. And then even in the bot lanes, Sneaky and Smoothie killed Hakuho in a 2v2. And this is honestly, I mean, now apparently Hakuho's Morgana is a meme, which I didn't realize until the Sneaky Media segment. But Fucking, I said this earlier, and this was in the game where when Lyra or Febibin got the pentakill on Azir, and I was like, hey, well, he kind of just like waltzed around that team fight because Apollo Hakuho were playing Varus Morgana, and we're just locking people down. And what I was saying to that effect is I like it when Apollo and Hakuho can play these sort of like almost like utility picks. Like I liked Hakuho's Ornn support when he played it, but no one really plays Ornn support anymore. Solo actually played it this game in the top lane, but I like this style from them. But Sneaky and Smoothie just are able to get the jump on them. I mean, Braum Tristana, that's just such a good combination with the Braum passive and the range and whatnot. And Braum is a good counter into Morg, so there's that too. But I remember when last year when Kled was more meta and C9 was doing the thing where they were switching between Impact and Ray. They would have Ray play the Kled when that was necessary. And the game, I'm thinking of Game 5 in the final against TSM that they ended up losing. But I feel like Licorice on this is like what they want to do. And Licorice has played Kled. He played Kled earlier in the season, so I think this is definitely something. When they sort of have the Kled ult and the Talia ult, and they have sort of just like a run at you comp, good engage. I think this is definitely something that they'll try to bust out in the future, and something that teams should be scared of the Licorice Kled. So yeah, that was a good week in games. That about wraps it up. Like I said, the standings are looking a little more clear. There's a 2-game gap between sort of the top 6 and the bottom 4, so we'll have to see how that shapes up in the remaining 3 weeks. It's crazy that there's only 3 weeks left. It's going by so fast. But let's get into these predictions. Unfortunately, I feel like at this point in the season, a lot of them are kind of cut and dry in my mind, so this might be a pretty rapid-fire prediction segments, but I did see a few interesting matchups that I will point out. So we'll go to TL versus 100 Thieves. And I'm going to give this one to 100 Thieves. And I guess the caveat or like the win condition is they got to get, some kills onto Cody-san. He's going to play a high damage threat like Varus or maybe Tristana. And he's going to get 1 million kills, and he's just going to do a bunch of damage. And how are they going to get him the kills? That's mainly up to, I'd say, Meteos and Aphromoo, with also Ryu. We did see Ryu on the rise this week, sort of the roaming style. We've seen him on Talia and Corki in the past. And I feel like recently the TL bot lane has been lackluster. In their victory against FlyQuest, wasn't really the reason why. It was more of the sort of the mid play around with Xmithie and Pobelter. And that sort of busted the game open. And then I feel like TL bot lane was outclassed by the Echo Fox bot lane. So yeah, I think 100 Thieves might have the better bot lane. And I think we can expect from what we've seen, from what we've seen this week from Aphromoo, if he keeps it up, then yeah, I think he's going to be going fucking ham in this bot lane. So I'm going to give it to 100 Thieves. Next, we have TSM versus FlyQuest. I feel like FlyQuest in some ways is like a worse version of TSM. They play very similar, or I feel like they play similar styles, where they all either 4-man, 5-man bot with Galio, Thunderdome, what have you. I just think that TSM, they basically transition from that stage of the game to getting in on the other side of the map, getting in the jungle, getting more picks. So short and sweet, I think TSM wins this. Next up, C9 versus CLG. In my opinion, one of the biggest mismatches in the top lane you can possibly ask for. I'm basing it on recent form, and I mean C9 has always done a good job of playing around Licorice if needed, and I think they'll definitely do that this game. I think Darshan has a big fucking target on his head that says, "Please kill me for first blood." He's dangling the money out of his back pocket. He's ready to go down, and honestly, like I CLG used to play around him earlier this split, but now it seems like they're going either for the bot lane. So I think C9's bot lane will be sort of tenacious enough to be able to withstand that. Seems like they've definitely are somewhat used to getting dove. It's happened in the past, so yeah, I'm just gonna give this to C9. I think. I mean, CLG's weaknesses right now are Darshan and Huhi, and you're going against Lickers and Jensen, so that's about that. All right, next is Golden Guardians versus Echo Fox. I said this the last time these two teams fought, but this will be this will be a shit show. This should be an exciting game to watch with a lot of kills. I think the Golden Guardians are definitely better than the last time they played Echo Fox, so maybe it'll be more competitive. But yeah, I still am giving this to Echo Fox to win. Despite their loss to TSM, they proved that people couldn't just rip off the TSM comp and do it against them. It actually takes some finesse to pull it off. I do not think Golden Guardians possess this finesse, so I'm giving it to Echo Fox. Next up, we have Clutch versus Optic. This will be an interesting one for sure. I'm giving it to Optic, even though Clutch are much higher in the standings, because I still think Clutch have a somewhat weak early game, and Optic will be able to exploit this. I think Acadian will be able to facilitate his laners. I think POB and Febiven is an interesting matchup, but I think Febiven is more of the wait till late game than cleanup and team fights, and I think POE is more proactive. I'd like to see the Tom Kench pick again with POE, with Acadian. So I'm giving it to Optic. But hey, if it gets the late game, Clutch may just win that, but that's a pretty big what if. Next up, CLG versus TL. Kind of down on TL right now. I feel like they've been pretty meh for a few weeks. It seems like them transitioning from playing around bot to playing around mid means that the bot lane kind of just doesn't do anything. And I'm wondering if they're going to change it up, because CLG is almost exclusively playing around bot now. So I'm wondering what will happen there. But I think TL will win just because CLG has too many question marks. I think Pobelter and Impact are better than Darshan and Huhi at the moment, and yeah, it'll basically be down to Xmithy, because I just feel like the whole thing with TL was that they were going to play around bot, and Pobelter was going to play these champions like Galio and Rise and Malzahar and roam down and help out, and playing around Pobelter works for Pobelter, but meanwhile in the bot lane, shit's going down. So we'll have to see. It'll be interesting to see the jungle matchup in this game, I think. Next is Optic versus Echo Fox. This is kind of another no-brainer. I'll give it to Echo Fox. Yeah, I mean, this week we saw Echo Fox just getting gold leads early game, just out-farming their opponents, despite losing first blood. It seems like Dardoch still wants to play heavily around Huni in weeks of late. So whoever the fuck Optic is playing, whether it's Zig or Dehokla, that's going to be a pretty big mismatch. So I'm going to, speed on to the next one. 100 Thieves versus TSM. This will actually be an interesting game. I think 100 Thieves, this is the week where they could really make or break themselves, because they're playing against TL and TSM, which honestly could both be close. And my biggest thing here is that I think that TSM still... I thought that Ryu looked a little iffy, and I think that'll probably be the biggest mismatch this game, because Ven and Mithy are still fairly that quiet menace in the bot lane. Mithy definitely looking better in certain team fights on the Braum, which I think he only played that champion this week, so maybe we'll see him on some other shit if that gets banned or picked. But it's really up to sort of the playmakers like Afro. For me, it's like Afro, Ryu, Medios. For whatever reason, someday, I mean, he looked really good in like the first 2 weeks of the split, but I just have not. He just seems like a normal top laner, and there's so much hype around this guy, and I bought into it at first, but I mean, him versus Haunters is a wash in my opinion. I mean, unless something changes, I'm not going to see. I'm not really seeing too much. So for me, the biggest mismatch is Ryu against Bjergsen. I think Bjergsen is just way too fucking solid for him to deal with, and I think it'll be sort of both teams will sort of be contesting these picks like Galio and actually no, Rise. They're gonna. I don't think Ryu plays that much Galio. It's gonna be their Rise pick because both mid laners sort of try to like get the roam and group. So yeah, I'm giving it to TSM. Next up, C9 versus Golden Guardians. I mean, what can I fucking say? Golden Guardians just still. I mean, even their win against CLG, it's like they fucking almost wiped at Baron, and then thank God Lorlo lived, so then they could run down. It's like I don't even want to fucking talk about that one. I mean, C9. I mean, what are they gonna do? Are they? I mean, honestly, like Golden Guardians does a good job of pressuring mid because they can play around high. So, I mean, maybe that's their win condition, but I'm jumping through hula hoops to try to even figure out how Golden Guardians wins that game. Maybe Jensen gets caught out because he got caught out a little bit in the clutch game, but it's another. Yeah, I mean, CLG or C9 is probably playing the two worst teams this week, CLG and Golden Guardians, and both those teams have two of the worst top laners. So it's like, hey, here's a free like lane for Licorice, and then I mean we kind of saw like what he was doing to solo once he could get a little bit ahead, and he was honestly playing pretty aggro into solo even before the gank comes. So I think Licorice can hold his own, and then yeah, I mean I think it's the same thing where it's like if they try to play around bot, which they might, I think C9 bot lane will be fine. So yeah, give it to C9, and then FlyQuest versus Clutch. This one was actually tough for me to call because both of these teams didn't impress me too much. But the thing that I noticed about FlyQuest was that in the games they lost both their games, but they did sort of try to come back and make some proactive plays, some roams with the mid laner Fly. So Onda didn't impress me, but neither did Lyra. So wait, I'm wow, fuck. I actually have Clutch circled on my piece of paper, but I just convinced myself that it's gonna be FlyQuest. So fuck it, I'll just change it. The last time I did this, I was wrong, so I'll probably be wrong again. But now that I'm thinking about it more clearly, or maybe less clearly, but yeah, I'll give it the FlyQuest. Fuck it. As long as Clutch don't pick Blitzcrank, they'll be fine. Clutch, yeah, Clutch's early game is definitely weaker. I think FlyQuest, because who did FlyQuest play this week? They played TL and 100 Thieves. Yeah, I think they can take Clutch. That's all I really want to say about that. It's been another episode of the Rift Herald. I thought it was a pretty good one. I really liked talking about these games. And yeah. You can follow my YouTube channel to keep up with all this shit. So I'll probably have another patch video coming out. Probably be a little bit different than the last one. So you'll have to fucking see. But yeah, if you've made it to this point in the video, as usual, thanks for sticking with it. And I'll catch you next week.